Coming up on this episode of DL Weekly, more choices in Galaxy's Edge, a new way to be Earth conscious, an interesting development in Toon Town.
A new Starbucks tumbler surprise, ticket and hotel deals. We talked to Michael Holland from Out of the Past podcast and more. DL Weekly starts now.
Oh boy, it sure is great to see you, Weekly Tears. Come on, Goofy. Gores.
Hello and welcome to this episode of DL Weekly for the week of April 23rd, 2025. I'm Teresa Urban.
And I'm Teg Bushman. We would like to thank everyone who supports the show, but this week we'd like to give a special shout out to April L. and Jocelyn A. for becoming new Weekly Tiers, and to Vern W. and Alyssa B. for continuing to support the show. If you'd like to help support the show and get ad-free versions of each episode, access to our supporter-only chat, and a bunch of other perks, head on over to dlweekly.net/support and become an official Weekly Tier.
Now let's get to the news.
Extra, extra, read all about it. DL Weekly reports from intrepid correspondents Tag and Teresa. You heard it here first, ladies and gents. Breaking news!
Star Wars Celebration Japan just wrapped up, and there were some new details about changes coming to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Starting on May 22nd, 2026, guests will have more control over their experience piloting the Millennium Falcon. Crews will be in charge of the destination that they travel to. New locations like Bespin, the wreckage of the second Death Star around Endor, or Coruscant will be options. The engineers will also be able to communicate with Grogu. These additions will coincide with the theatrical release of The Mandalorian and Grogu.
Yeah, the movie. I should have put that in.
The movie.
I'm intrigued at two things specifically about this. One, I love the fact that you'll be in control of your destination. I'm wondering how that's gonna work. Like, do you have to hit different buttons depending on what you want to do, or do you? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, there's some way that that's gonna work, and I love the fact that the engineers will have something better to do, because riding Smuggler's Run, the pilots get the coolest job. They get to go to hyperspace.
Yeah.
They're kind of that's like the coolest thing, right? And then gunners, you're just kind of mashing a button.
You get to shoot things. But those poor engineers, they're fixing everything.
Yeah. All the stuff that the pilots screw up, the engineers fix. But it'll be cool that they can communicate with Grogu, which I assume will help in some way with the mission, I guess. Yeah, so it'll be exciting.
I'm really curious about this, too. The one thing that I don't like about this, though, is that we have to wait until May 2026.
It is a really long way away.
And didn't they tease this for, they did, at D23. So they teased this last fall, and for some reason in my mind, I thought it was coming this year. I should have been a smarter person and paid closer attention to when the film The Mandalorian and Grogu was coming out, because all along we knew it was going to be, this was coming to the park when that film was releasing. So that wasn't a secret. I just wasn't paying attention. It's kind of like some other recent Disney news that I didn't pay full attention to until all of a sudden I'm like, wait, what? Disney cruise ship news. If you're curious what all of a sudden I had a moment about, and got ridiculous excited for stuff that I wasn't really paying attention to, because I was like, I think it's not something I'm interested in. Anyways, wrong chat. But I'm just super curious. I think this will be really fun, because to me, something that's really great about Star Tours is the randomized experience. You don't, even though it feels like I always somehow get the same experience, it's not supposed to be that way, because you've got a beginning, a middle, and an end segment, and all of those can swap out.
Should rotate, yeah.
And should rotate. I just somehow have weird luck that I get the same.
Well, it wasn't rotating for a while,
That's true.
But apparently it's rotating again.
That's true.
Supposedly.
So that was the one thing that was a little difficult. I felt Smuggler's Run was never felt as fun repeatability wise to me. It was more, the thing that I enjoy about Smuggler's Run is going into it with a group. So if it's just you and I don't feel like we need to go, because it's more fun to me when it's the whole cockpit is people you know.
Well, and also when it's two people, you're usually you're not the pilot. And for me, the pilot is the fun part. I like going to hyperspace. I like steering the ship.
Well, and you're just
and you could see more. Yeah. Where I feel like in the back, when I'm the engineer, all I'm doing is looking at my panel for glowing green buttons, which isn't looking at the screen. It's looking at the panel. Now, the gunner, I just keep my finger on the thing and keep hitting it, and then I can look out the front. But it's just different. It's just, yeah. And they talked about when this ride was announced, 7 years ago now, that they were going to have different things and different missions and stuff, and it just never came to be. And it's a dynamic system. Like, there's no reason they couldn't have all of this. So it's cool that they're finally doing it.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, April is Earth Month, and this year Disneyland is doing something unique. Guests are being encouraged to participate in the Food Scraps program. The program takes uneaten food and turns it into nutrient-rich feed for farm animals. Galactic Grill, Hungry Bear Barbecue Jamboree, Cafe Daisy, Pym Test Kitchen, Flo's V8 Cafe, and Cozy Cone Motel are participating this year. Guests are given, this is totally new for this year, guests are given a green food scraps container to place leftover food into, which then can be emptied into a green food-only receptacle.
It's curious. We don't know for sure. It is going on for Earth Month. We're not sure how much longer, if this is going to be a permanent change or, how long this program is going to be. I hope it's a permanent change because, right, why not do something good with the food scraps instead of just sending them to, the landfill. But the thing that's curious to me about this is typically in similar programs, it's just a separate waste bin that you put your food scraps in. So this is interesting to me that they have this little thing that comes on your tray. That's this green plastic
scoop
looking thing. That's a good way to describe it. That I'm just curious how that all works. Why do I don't know what the purpose of the scoop really is. Because then do you just place the full scoops somewhere, or are you emptying your scoop into a specific bin?
Instructions say place leftover food in this scoop, drop your scraps off at the green food only bin, and then return this scoop to the scoop trolley.
I just feel like it's a messy extra step.
Yeah.
So I feel like if they do keep this in place, maybe that food, the green scoop part will be that part will be skipped, and you just empty, slide your food off from the plate into the food scrap bin. I don't know.
I don't know why. So something that James and I really liked when we went to Disneyland Paris was they did not give you paper cups. It was always a plastic Coke cup from Disneyland Paris. And they had 5 different trash cans at all the food locations. And one of the trash cans was where you would deposit your plastic cup, so it'd be recycled. And what I mean by recycled is they would take it to a dishwashing station and then recycle them. So I don't know why the state
wash and reuse or send it to a recycling facility. Okay,
no,
wash and reuse.
Yeah, so in a restaurant, you send your stuff back and they wash it. So I don't know why Disneyland and World haven't done something. They're trying to be environmentally conscious, but they still have all these paper cups and paper plates and all this stuff. So why don't they do more of this instead of making these little trays, these little scoops? For the food waste, why don't you do that for the cups and stuff? Because I thought that was cool. Also, they had different garbage cans for different things in Disneyland Paris. It was, there was put your food in here, put your paper waste in here, put your napkins and stuff here, dump out any of your liquids in this one, and then dump your cup. My guess for why they probably don't do that here is just off of us talking about this, how people probably aren't even going to do this much, trying to get people who aren't used to it to separate their stuff in all the different cans is going to be probably just too much.
That could be. I do hope that this works well and that it's something that they can do long term to help reduce waste, because I can't even wrap my brain around how much food is thrown away by either guests not finishing their meals or just the kitchens, how much food waste there is. And if they can take it and use it and make a feed for animals, why not, right?
Yeah. I was just trying to look really quick because I wanted to see, I'm sure somebody has a picture from Disneyland Paris that I'm trying to find here. Here it is. So here's all the different steps of this system. So you have a bin for number 1, which is dump out all of your liquids out of your cups and everything. Step 2 is dump all your food waste. Step 3, put all your empty packaging. So your bowls, your trays, your Disney cups, your bottles, all of that stuff. And then the last one was other waste. So silverware can go in one section, and then like your napkins and your everything else goes somewhere else. So there's 4 trash cans for each of the food places.
Yeah.
And it seems fairly straightforward to me. Just like step 1, do this, step 2, do this, step 3, do this. And I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was a cool system. And like I said, they have the plastic cups that they put all the stuff in so they don't use it. So anyway, just kind of an offshoot of the same idea, because when you get to Disneyland, it's kind of, there's some places that have like food, like Toon Town has like a food bin now.
Yeah.
And so anyway,
I was just thinking, because that was the other thing. I was like, I feel like they've done where they've converted food scraps to other places, and so I'm curious why we've got the scoop now. But
like why are we making another implement that is part of this whole process? I suppose I'm sure there's a reason for it, and I'm sure if we were at Disneyland and could ask, there'd probably be a reason for it. But anywho.
Well, an unexpected but fun activity appeared in Toon Town this week. Signs for a missing churro have been posted around the land with a phone number to call. When called, Donald Duck picks up and talks about his missing churro.
Did you call this?
Poor Donald. No, I did not call this.
It's interesting because in the beginning, he answers and you can understand him, and I feel like he becomes less understandable as the call goes on.
He's getting more and more worried about his missing churro.
Yeah.
I just love this.
What is this? Is it just to be fun?
I think it's just fun. So the sign, it looks like it's just like a piece of paper and it like a flyer, right?
Yeah, like a normal.
And it's got the little flags on the bottom that you can rip off the phone number. For those of you that want to call the phone number is 714-520-6149. And it's got a photo of a plate of churros, and it says, "Missing. Did you find my churro? From this plate, it's covered in cinnamon, possible bite mark." I think, just some, extra Disney magic, something fun. I don't know.
So what did you think about that? I think it's called
fun.
It. Teresa and I just called it. So
we got to listen to Donald being very concerned about his missing churro.
He's very Donald about it.
He is. It's good. I think it's fun. I hope they start doing like more stuff like this, because like, I don't know. I'm just thinking about like, I think it's fun as an adult. What if you were a kid, right? And you're like, joke, like, look, there's a churro here, or, whatever. And they call and they get to hear Donald. It's kind of like how if you stay at a Disneyland Resort hotel, you can call
for wake up calls
and call, and you can have like the characters. Yeah, the characters you can set up so the characters call you, or you can, call the characters. They do that on Disney Cruise Line too. I just think it's kind of a fun, unique way to kind of interact with the characters, but also make the characters seem more like alive and real.
Sure. Well, fans of the Disneyland Starbucks tumblers have a new variation. This tumbler comes with one of 2 mystery pins. The tumbler itself is brightly colored with graphics depicting Disneyland attractions like the Tiki Room, It's a Small World, Haunted Mansion, and more. What do you think of these as a
These are fun. So
person?
Not only, this is like 2 collectible worlds colliding, because you have folks that collect the Starbucks tumblers and you have folks that collect Disney pins. So each tumbler comes with a package. The package contains 2 mystery pins, and there's a Disneyland version and there's a Disney California Adventure version. So you've got 2 sets of mystery pins that you can try and collect. I don't remember off the top of my head how many pins are in each set if you wanted to complete the collection. But yeah, so each time you buy one of these mugs, which this would get very expensive very quickly, because Starbucks tumblers are usually $40-$50. But yeah, I just think it's a fun extra thing. Usually there's like, I don't know how many there are, so I'm not gonna misquote it. But I just think it was a unique kind of like collide of two different Disney collectible worlds.
You know me, I'm a fan of pins.
Yeah.
I'm not really a fan of the Starbucks tumblers, so I will probably pass on this one. But I think it's kind of a neat idea, like a way to get people excited to buy like another tumbler. You could even buy it on the DisneyStore.com.
Look at that.
Oh, and here's what the pins look like. So there's a
2,
set
4,
that has
8.
Sleeping Beauty Castle, Yeah, so the pins match what the design of the cup looks like. So you got Sleeping Beauty Castle, It's a Small World, a Tiki Room, which includes a Dole Whip also on there, and the teacups with a butterfly. Madame Leota, you get Harold from the Matterhorn. You get the backside of water on the Jungle Cruise and a Emperor Zurg, like, Target Z thing. Oh, you got the actual pictures.
I found Disney Pins blog has photos. I will go ahead and share this because not only is this at Disneyland and Disney California Adventure, if you hop on over to Walt Disney World, there's a Magic Kingdom, there's a Hollywood Studios, there's an Animal Kingdom, and there's an Epcot version of all of these. So Disney California Adventure, we've got Carthay Circle. Oh, you've got Baymax with, like, the San Francisco Bridge. Oh, too soon. The red car trolley. Sebastian. We also have Cadillac Range.
Yep.
And then we've got Grizzly River Run, Monsters, Inc. We've got the Door, as well as a Scream canister or Laugh canister. And then Pixar Pier. So you've got, like, the Fun Wheel plus the Incredicoaster in the background. And they're, like, fun, bright colors. They're not quite the normal colors that these things would be, but bright, fun variations.
Yeah, and like we said, you can buy it on DisneyStore.com. They are $50 a piece. So, pretty cool. Something
I would,
different.
you make sure you, like, trade with friends to get the ones you want, because that could, get expensive quick to try and find the one that you're looking for.
Sure.
With the recent uncertainty from international travelers from outside of the United States, Disney has created some hotel and theme park ticket deals. Currently, there is a SoCal resident ticket offer through May 15th and a Disneyland Anniversary 4-day ticket valid from May 16th through August 14th from $100 per day.
These seem like some good ticket deals, and, of course, in a positive note, if you are a local to Disneyland, which a lot of locals go to Disneyland, you're probably going to be seeing less people in the parks, which is good. But it's also good if you're coming like us. I mean, we have Magic Keys, but other people coming that don't have Magic Keys can take advantage of a lot of these cool offers and stuff like that. And maybe the 70th anniversary will be like a pleasant experience this summer.
Yeah, so MiceChat reports that air travel, just even from Canada to the U.S., has dropped by more than 70%, but also flights into John Wayne Airport from any destination have experienced an 8.5% decrease in February 2025 compared to February 2024. So since there is a slump going on with travel overall, and again, it sounds like the biggest impact is international travel coming in, I do expect to see Disney putting out more deals. There's current deals right now for both Disneyland and Walt Disney World, as well as other destinations too. But I'm just curious what this is going to do for park experience overall and what's going to do for park prices during this time. Because, right, Disneyland needs people to come visit them.
Yeah.
So to do that, sometimes they offer these really awesome deals to try and get some excitement and have people come out. So I'm just curious. I'm curious. I think we'll probably see more stuff, which, if you're someone that's traveling soon, is good news.
The flip side of that to be aware of is anytime there's like an economic downturn for one reason or another, Disney kind of gets shy. So we've talked about the fact that Disney had planned or announced that they were going to spend $60 billion on the theme parks.
Yeah.
And there's a possibility that would cause some issues with that long term.
You just reminded me of something. I forgot to put this in the news, but I think it's worth mentioning along with that. This might be me putting the churro before the cart. But there was an update from Run Disney, specifically for the Disneyland Resort, that says, again, from Run Disney, due to upcoming construction impacts, Run Disney races at the Disneyland Resort will be placed on hiatus in 2026 after the conclusion of the 2026 Disneyland Half Marathon Weekend presented by Honda. They're going to continue to offer races at the Walt Disney World Resort, as well as virtual offerings. I, being a person that gets hopes for things and tries to read between the lines, I'm curious if this isn't maybe a hint. I'm going against Tag's thought process, a hint of when we might see some movement with the Disneyland Forward projects.
But remember, that is their intention right now.
I know, but I'm still going to be excited about it.
If this summer does not do well, I mean, they announced all that crap for Disney World, and then COVID hit, and they got rid of all that, and they've done So
they scaled stuff back. Yeah.
So I just
the
get worried
Mary
about
Poppins attraction would have been so off topic because it's the Walt Disney World. It was going to come to Epcot, but there was going to be a Mary Poppins themed attraction.
You know what's funny?
That would have been so cool.
Talk about Mary Poppins. So for our DL Weekly book club.
This is the most off-topic news channel ever.
Yeah,
news topic
it
ever.
Is,
I love it.
But Dream Chasing. It's by Bob Weiss, who was the former head of the Walt Disney Imagineering. And the story I was listening to today, which you told me with Mary Poppins, is he apparently when they were coming up with some like type of attractions for basically the Great Movie Ride, what ended up being the Great Movie Ride.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of people on the team that were like, not another Mary Poppins thing, because apparently like they had like Mary Poppins came up all the time for stuff.
Oh, really?
And so they said, and this is an interesting part of this book, is they said that they reached out, which is why the Great Movie Ride has a bunch of movies that aren't Disney movies in it, because they had to reach out because at the time in the early to mid 80s when they're coming up with this attraction, the Disney film library was not large enough to have a variety of things in there. So they had to put in things like Wizard of Oz and all of that stuff. So anyway, I just remember thinking it was funny that Bob Weiss was like, not more Mary Poppins. Because I wouldn't have thought that. It's just something different.
Well, and I'm thinking, like, there really isn't much representation in the parks
of Mary Poppins.
Yeah. We've got, Disneyland's got the Jolly Holiday, and then, of course, you've got the face characters.
And there's no attraction,
band. But yeah, as far as attractions go,
anywhere, actually.
Interesting.
Anyway,
that was, again, the most off-topic, roundabout way, but...
If you want to join our book club, there is still time. Become a weekly tier, dlweekly.net/support. Join our Discord chat. And our first meeting is coming up. Let me pull it up real quick.
It's the first Sunday every month.
Okay. It's a good book so far. So, well, the fires at the beginning of the year in the Southern California area were tragic and impacted so many. Disney committed $15 million to the effort back in January. Disney has added Disney Field Days, where they go out and bring carnivals with characters, games, activities, and more to locations that were impacted. Recently, 2 schools in Brentwood, Disney cast members and volunteers put on these events to over 900 students. 2 people who lost special items in the fires got a version of them back. One 8-year-old lost her giant stuffed Tigger in the fire. Disney replaced it with one that had traveled around Disney's Animal Kingdom, which I thought was wonderful. Aww. And a teacher who lost her Disney-themed classroom in the fire, including her collection of mouse ears, I'm sure Teresa can relate to not wanting to lose those, was presented with over 50 pairs of ears from Disney parks, stores, and volunteers.
That was pretty amazing. So they actually had shared on social media Mrs. Lamb, her like receiving those ears and just watching her like reactions and like how, ones that, it was kind of like getting reunited with old friends, ones that maybe she had special memories with, or ones that were maybe brand new to her. What she was just, you could just see she was just beyond and just so excited. And the cool thing was is they did this all in front of her class, so all the kids got to see the magic being made. And it was basically like this long line of volunteers, and they each handed, one after another, handed her one, another, and she just was like, I don't think she realized the volume or how many ears were going to be donated, because she just seemed beside herself and just so excited. So I thought that was really, really cool, really fun. Did you notice she's even Disney bounding?
I did.
As Minnie Mouse.
I did.
During this thing.
Yeah. The expression, she's very expressive, and the photos that we have linked in the show notes as part of the article, you could tell that this just means the world to her that this was happening. And I just thought of you, what happens if Teresa lost her house and lost all of her ears? Wouldn't it be so cool if Disney came? And what was cute about the girl was the 8-year-old girl was able to save her Mickey Mouse plush toy.
Aww.
But she was not able, she had to leave behind her giant stuffed tiger.
Yeah.
So I thought it was really cool that they, after a brief detour around Disney's Animal Kingdom to meet a new friend, the baby Basco, the newest tiger, it was then brought to her.
Yeah, because the baby tiger is also had all sorts of there's a baby tiger at the Animal Kingdom, and he's adorable, and there's been all sorts of coverage of him. So it's really cool that her stuffed tiger got to meet the famous baby tiger in Disney's Animal Kingdom. I just think that's so fun. I just love that they're doing these things. And again, the fact that they got to have 900 students attend the 2 separate Disney field days that they put on too, I just think is pretty darn incredible. It looks like, both like princesses as well as face characters. It looks like we had some friends from Star Wars join in on the fun. Oh, and Marvel. That's just amazing. Just so cool.
It's like bringing the parks to the kids. Yep.
Exactly.
900 kids, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
I am Groot.
What do you mean you're hungry? Kraglin needs those pots for the rehydrator. We don't have time for snacks.
I am Groot.
Were you talking to Tag and Teresa again? How'd they even get a hold of you?
I am Groot.
Fine. 1 snack. That's it.
I am Groot.
No, I haven't seen any churros. You gotta talk to Vern. And stop smiling.
Well, for this week in Snack Chat, we are reporting on some new sweet treats that the Disney Eats Instagram page posted about. We were so excited because they usually release this stuff just after we record, and today they released it ahead of time, so we were able to serve it up to you fresh this week. But there
straight out of the oven.
Straight out of the oven. But there is a whole slew of new dessert items that will be available around the resort starting April 30th.
Yeah. This is it was kind of a mishmash. I wish they would have done a blog post because
it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot.
So the first item is a s'mores butter cake sundae, which is a chocolate butter cake topped with vanilla ice cream, chocolate sauce, graham cracker crumbs, and toasted marshmallows. You could grab that at the Red Rose Tavern. It looks pretty good, actually.
It does look really good. Over at the Tropical Hideaway, there is a matcha float, which is Dole Whip strawberry mango swirl, topped with white chocolate drizzle and toasted coconut.
I love the idea of like a white chocolate drizzle.
I'm curious about this one. I mean, it's a Dole Whip, so of course I'm curious. But
and we timed this perfectly.
Yeah, we did.
For me to talk about Clarabelle's hand scooped ice cream has a Neapolitan macaron, which is a chocolate macaron with vanilla bean buttercream and strawberry sauce. That sounds really good.
Yum.
Is this going to be around?
April 30th. It will be.
We'll be there. Good, because I want to try this. Since it's been Clarabelle's, I think I've only been to this location once, and it was when it was the previous like train.
Oh.
It was the Burbank ice cream. That's what it was. Ooh.
And then over at Smoke Jumpers Grill, so once you finish your macaron, you can then head over to Smoke Jumpers to get a raspberry shake, which is topped with whipped cream.
That looks pretty good, though. Mm-hmm. And there's like There is, at the Plaza Inn, a chocolate gooey brownie cake, which is a chocolate brownie molten cake with chantilly cream, caramel, and chocolate sauce garnished with chocolate rice crisp. That seems very chocolatey.
There's a tiramisu parfait over at Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta.
At Market House, there's a butter biscuit cookie, which is a butter cookie with raspberry jam and white chocolate.
Maurice's Treats. Ooh, such a great location. There is a butter biscuit cookie. So it's a butter cookie with raspberry jam and white chocolate. Ooh.
Is that what this is?
That's what that is.
Interesting. At Schmoozies, there is a Mickey Mint Cookie Shake, which is mint cookies and cream with whipped topping, sprinkles, a cream-filled chocolate cookies, basically Oreos, and red sugar rim. This is interesting looking.
There's a Matterhorn Puff at Edelweiss Snacks, which is filled with cheesecake, lemon curd, and fresh blueberries, topped with white chocolate and snow sugar. I might have to try this. I know you may not because of the lemon curd.
I'm worried with the lemon curd.
But the lemon and blueberries,
could be good.
Yum.
Wasn't that churro you liked, a blueberry churro, the one that you like licked the cream?
It was a blueberry cheesecake churro. You're right.
So here we go. At Paradise Garden Grill, they have a mango strawberry chili lime parfait with mango mousse, vanilla cake, mango passion fruit compote, and strawberry chamoy chili lime jelly.
I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, it seems like a lot going on.
Yeah, it seems like a sweet savory.
I am excited about the next thing, though.
Yeah, the next, we're definitely trying these pineapple flavor Mickey shaped beignets dusted with pineapple powdered sugar at, the Mint Julep Bar.
Yes.
The best place to get your beignets in park. The only place to get your beignets in park.
Yeah. So at the Jolly Holiday, we actually have a trio of new things. And the first one of these is a coconut cheesecake, which is a coconut cheesecake rolled in toasted coconut with coconut whipped cream, white chocolate pearls, and a Mickey decoration.
Wow. All the coconut.
This looks good, though. I like coconut.
Mm-hmm. There's also a chocolate cake, which is chocolate cake with frosting. So not nearly... It looks fancier than it sounds, but I would go for that coconut thing over this.
Yeah. And finally, there is a lemon raspberry tiramisu, which is a lemon tiramisu cream with layers of raspberry-soaked ladyfingers, lemon curd, and fresh raspberries finished with dried raspberry and chocolate decoration. I might try this.
Yeah, I was going to say I need to try this one too. Both of the lemon things sound really delicious. So, of the plethora of things that we just listed, what are your top must-tries?
Well, the pineapple beignets for sure.
Pineapple beignets.
And I will say, I'm just going to pick two things because we can get crazy.
Oh, man.
The other one is the macaron.
I'm going to pick three because I'm terrible. I'm really curious about this s'mores butter cake sundae at the Red Rose Tavern. Just because, yeah, it's so different. I am curious. I'm not the biggest matcha fan, but I am curious about I do want to try the matcha float. And then my final one, is probably the lemon. I don't know. It's a toss-up between the lemon raspberry tiramisu or that Matterhorn puff that's filled with cheesecake, lemon curd, and fresh blueberries.
Okay, I must have missed something. Two. What is this one?
That is the tiramisu parfait at Boardwalk Pizza and Pasta.
Oh, that's a parfait. I thought it was a drink.
Nope, it's a parfait.
Because that's a ladyfinger on top. I get it.
It's served in like a little cup. But yeah, lots of wonderful desserts coming to the parks. Again, these are all available starting April 30th.
All this looks so good.
Mm-hmm. I do hope we get a refresh of get some savory items added. As much as I love desserts... Oh, yeah. We need savory items, we need cold brews, and we need more drink options, please. Fun drinks. Maybe next week in Snack Chat we can talk about new savory...
Maybe.
Savories and coffees.
Maybe. Well, we just wanted to remind everybody that this weekend we have a couple streams for you. First of all, both are on Sunday, April 27th. Our first one is if you are a cast member or above supporter, we have a hangout that happens over Zoom that we get together and just chit-chat for like an hour. That is at 4 p.m. Disneyland time. Mm-hmm. And again, if you're the cast member or above supporter level, you can join in that. Or if you just want to hang out with us at 5:30 p.m. Disneyland time, you can join our YouTube public live stream, which will be on our YouTube page at youtube.com/DLWeekly. Once again, that is at 5:30 p.m. Disneyland time. Come join us, please. What are we going to talk about? Do we have any idea?
I don't know if we have any specifics for this week, but the things that have been on my mind that I've been dying to talk about, one is not Disneyland related or even Disney related, so we probably shouldn't talk about that, but Epic Universe has been like something we've both been geeking out about because it looks
more about
so cool. We'll like talk with people,
Sure.
Instead of just talking with each other about it, talk with others about it.
I found decent on-ride videos this week,
there
and so
go.
we could talk about what that looks like too.
And then the other thing that I foolishly was not paying attention to and kind of like didn't think it was going to be my thing, we got updates for the Disney Destiny on all sorts of like entertainment and some sneak peeks at food. And now I'm all geeked out and excited about the Disney Destiny, which is the newest Disney cruise line ship coming at the end of this year. So we could talk about that.
I also laughed, by the way. I won't mention any names, but we were communicating with someone over email recently, and they are under the impression that apparently you were going to go on all of the media preview cruises.
I wish.
Because this person said, if you're going and need a +1.
I would, yes, I wish. But
yeah.
I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll make it to the Disney media list someday and can get invited to those amazing once-in-a-lifetime type experiences and get to do things pre-public. But alas, we probably won't.
We missed the boat on trying to get on the Universal media list to go to Epic Universe.
Yeah, that would have been a good one too, man. Dang. So cool.
DL Weekly announces the boarding of the Trivia Express, non-stop Starspeeder service to the moon of Endor. All passengers, please prepare for immediate boarding.
Welcome to Trivia Land, where we have some wonderful listener-submitted questions. Tonight we're going with 4 listener-submitted questions, no bonus, because one of the listeners submitted a question with 2 bonuses in the question.
We got embedded bonuses.
That's right. So do you think you are up for this challenge?
Yes.
I mean, we're going to do great, because why not?
That's right. You need to visualize and actualize and make it happen, right?
Is this Coach Vern coming out?
That's right.
It's like a pep talk.
Yep. I'm pepping you up and inspiring you, and we're going to do this. All right. Your first listener submitted question from listener Daniel C. What county name is printed on the license plate of each ride vehicle in Radiator Springs Racers?
Is it Carburetor County?
That's a good guess. Like, how confident are you on that one?
I'm pretty sure that's what they say in the movie.
Well, then I will go with that. I think I've only seen the Cars movie like once, like a bajillion years ago. James and I, by the way, an update for everybody. James and I may start our trek trying to get through the Disney movies again during the summer. We failed last time by getting stuck at... We were trying to do them in order, and we got stuck at not being in the mood for Fantasia, and that's where it stopped. So I think what we're going to do this time is, if we find a movie we're not in the mood for, we're just going to pick the next movie, and then we'll come back.
Jot it down that you skipped it.
So James had never seen either of the Fantasia movies, so we have to resolve this. What brought up the conversation was we had graduation this last week, and we were talking about the weird rendition of the graduation march, the dun 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 dun, dun which I think is in Fantasia 2000 is one of the songs. Anyway.
I'm more familiar with the OG Fantasia.
Well, yes,
I watched that a lot when I was a child. I have seen Fantasia 2000, but I think I just only saw it the one time.
We had it. It was at the movie theater when I worked there, so that is why I was aware of it. Anyway, sorry, Vern.
That's okay.
Totally going off topic.
All right, so your final answer, Carburetor County?
Carburetor County.
Yeah.
All right. Your second listener submitted question, and bonus question, and bonus question.
Oh, my goodness.
From listener Shanna D. Walt Disney hosted a TV program that followed the construction of Disneyland. How many months did the show run for leading up to Disneyland's opening? Bonus, which network did it air on? Bonus, what was the program called?
Oh, well, 2 of the 3 of these are super easy. So it was ABC. Because it was funny because later on they bought ABC.
They ended up getting it.
It was called Disneyland. And it was called Disneyland. It wasn't
The Wonderful World of Color?
No, that was later.
Okay.
It was called Disneyland. And then what's funny is you're going to get some behind the scenes here, folks. We recorded our interview for today.
For this episode.
Before this, and he talked about this, like our guest talks about this.
Oh, you're right.
And did it not start? It didn't start in July.
It didn't start right away. I feel like it was only like 9 or 10 months.
Was it October or November that it started? I think it was October. So
wait.
November,
What's
December.
all of our questions? I've gotten myself confused.
When did it start,
now.
or how
long?
Many months? Which network? What was the program called?
So how many months?
October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July.
Okay,
that's 10
so
months.
I said it was 9. Yeah, my guess was 9 or 10 months, but now I don't remember.
Was it October or November? Because if it was October, it's 10. If it was November, then it was 9.
I know.
Let's say 10.
My original gut was we're going to go 9.5.
I don't
split the difference.
think that's how this. I don't know.
My gut was 9. I'm gonna go 9. You're gonna go 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, thank goodness, we talked to him, because I would have thought that it was a 1 whole year, but it wasn't.
All right, final answers.
I think
Fine.
so.
All right, 9 or 10 months, ABC and Disneyland. Locking it in.
Yes.
It wasn't like
All
Walt
right.
Disney's Disneyland.
You could put Walt Disney's Disneyland.
Yeah, I think it was Walt. Or like Walt Disney Presents Disneyland. I think his name was in the title. It wasn't just Disneyland.
Anyway. How picky are you being, Vern?
And your third regular round question from listener Michael N.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
That's a stop overthinking
Okay,
yourself.
okay.
In the queue to order food at Flo's V8 Cafe, there are 4 drink dispensers for the cars. What are the 4 drinks that are served? Hint, there used to be 5. Now it's only 4.
That's a hint?
That's what I'm calling a hint.
Oh.
I don't remember anything in Flo's V8 Cafe.
The chicken is so good.
All I know is they serve chicken and they have a great back patio.
They have it's like road gravel that they put on their shakes. I do find that very clever.
Is it like Oreo cookies thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's really good too.
It's gotta be like
Isn't
oil.
that the same road gravel that they use for the churro that they serve at the Cozy Cones?
You're thinking of a special. That was a specialty churro.
Yes, but wasn't that the same road gravel?
Probably. Yep. Probably.
That churro was so good.
But okay, so Vern, can we have more of a hint? Because we're stuck. So is it like, I feel like it's something like oil, but is it 4 different brands or types of oil? Like, is it all the same thing but different variations, or is it like actual different things, like oil versus windshield wiper fluid?
Okay, looking at the pictures, and with my admittedly pretty limited knowledge of cars and stuff, I'm gonna say it's all oils / lubricants.
Okay.
So we have to,
It's
brands.
It's not really in the, like in the queue for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. They've got like the goofy things, like the super hot sauce, and it's melting.
Oh, yeah.
with the queue. It's not like that. It's
Okay.
It's not as tongue in cheek. It's fairly serious.
It's got to be brands from the film.
Do you think brands, or do you think like weights of oil?
Oh.
Because like it's like 10W30, 10W40.
Good gravy. Because then they could do Easter eggs with those. I wasn't gonna think I wouldn't have said that, but I could see Imagineering doing that, because then it could have been Easter eggs for dates.
Oh.
Dang it! Because I was trying to remember like Rusty's and Dynaco and whatever other
brands were in that.
there were. I don't know. We're just gonna talk ourselves in circles. So stumped.
I'm gonna stick with the WD with the 10W40, the 10W30. Those are the only 2 oil types I know. Because one of my cars had the 30 and one had the 40.
But I feel like
somebody's yelling at the podcast.
It's got to be whatever it is. It's got to be in universe though. So
yeah, but they could still have those type of oils.
Yeah,
they were pretty realistic.
So, but maybe it's like 10 WGI, like Walt Disney Imagineering.
But you gotta go organic, man.
Oh God, like
Fillmore,
Fillmore,
diesel, whatever.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I'm gonna go with brands. The only brands I can remember right now are Dynaco and
Rusty's.
Yeah, and I just got the 2 10W30, 10W40.
I'm trying to remember like what the other things were, because there was different color, like the different cars that had different brands. But yeah,
so 10W30, 10W40, and Dynaco and Rusty's. Final answers.
Terrible answers, but they're there.
All right.
We need to spend some quality time at Flo's tag.
And your final question from listener Donna S. What year, and I'll give you a bonus if you can give me the exact date, did the Blue Bayou restaurant open?
Oh, boy.
What now?
What year did
and
Blue
I'll give you a
Bayou
bonus
open?
if you can give me the exact date, month, and day, did the Blue Bayou restaurant open?
What? I'm trying.
When did Pirates open? December of 67?
69 was haunted.
It was after Walt died. Walt died December of
66.
So then it was like March of 67. Or was it March?
Okay, so we'll say.
Or was it May? I always screw up my March and May.
So 67 though.
Yeah.
Did it open with the attraction?
I think it
or did
opened
it open
after.
So do we think it opened still in 67 or 68?
I don't think it was that long. Vern, I'm going to say June of 68. I don't have an exact date for you.
June of 68. Didn't we just say that it opened?
Or
Pirates opened in 67?
Sorry. June of 67.
June of 67? Okay.
Yeah.
And Teresa? You gonna sit down at the table with him?
Sure.
Order up some crawfish?
We're going to go with 1967. I'm stumping myself on this. I'm overthinking it. I'll go with July.
July. All
It's
right.
a good month.
It's a great month.
Of 67.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful people are born in July.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
All right. Well, listeners, how do you think they did? How did you do listening at home, or your car, or workplace, or wherever you listen? If you stick around until after the discussion, we can all find out the answers together.
Well, this week for our discussion topic, we are talking with the host of the From Out of the Past podcast, which season 2 is covering the year before Disneyland, which, if that just right there doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. Michael Holland, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's not just an honor to be on this show. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you.
Another fun fact about Michael is he is also a weekly tier, so he also listens to DL Weekly. And I'm just so excited that you reached out to us, Michael, to chat about this. I am fascinated and can't wait to learn more about the podcast and then also the year before Disneyland. So let's get right to it. Can you tell us about your Disney story? What got you interested in either the company, the parks, the movies, all of the above?
Yeah. I grew up in a house full of classic Hollywood, so there were always the movies. I call Pinocchio my favorite, though I'll say Bambi might be their most beautiful picture. Mm-hmm. And get this, my mom was at the Los Angeles Fantasia premiere, and I still have that original program.
Wow.
That's cool.
Which is pretty amazing. One more great mom Disney connection. She was a Hollywood dancer, chorus girl type, who once played the Chenard Art Institute with Ward Kimball and the Firehouse 5+2. This would have been like 1961. And another dancer at that gig was Jane Mansfield. I am going to send in a photo so that you guys can see that. I grew up in Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, so I was really lucky that my family went to the park every year. This is, back when going once a year, every year was a lot. And it was often my whole family, sister, grandparents, aunt and uncle, cousin, sometimes with friends that were family. And the night before the big day, going to Disneyland was as big a deal as Christmas morning. Mm-hmm. I'd be looking at the park map I still had from the last trip, imagining what we'd see, what might have changed. And I'm honestly not sure I slept those nights before getting on the brand new Star Tours and Splash Mountain and Indiana Jones. And then that morning came and my parents would say, whoever sees the Matterhorn first picks the first ride. and I started looking from our own driveway.
You're like, it's gonna be me.
Yes. My grandparents never missed Circarama, and my parents never missed the Golden Horseshoe Review.
Oh, good.
Which means us kids never miss them. And I'm just outside of remembering Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland and the Fantasyland pirate ship. But I do remember the People Mover and Skyway and Carousel of Progress and Country Bear Jamboree. Mm-hmm. And they are.
Yeah.
And I remember being able to go into the fort on Tom Sawyer Island.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd get a new park map that I would cherish because I'd have it for the whole next year to remember where we went and what we'd want to do the next time. Cut to today, and I've grown older, but not so much grown up. So with my wife and our son, I still get excited the night before. I don't think I slept the night before my first Galaxy's Edge trip.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I always get up in the morning and I put Disney music on and we're at the park for rope drop, and it's still the greatest day, probably including Christmas.
Especially if you're there at Christmas.
Yeah,
then
it's
it's like
like
even more magical.
Yeah, just this last season, we were really, really lucky and got to see the candlelight procession.
Oh, very cool.
Which was a big, big, big bucket list for me.
That's still on our bucket list.
It is. We got close. There was one. We were there, and we were in the Esplanade. That's as close as we could get to it because I think our tickets were blocked out or something.
Yeah. But we saw the lights like on the train station, and we're like, it's happening, and we're so close, but so far.
Yeah. I don't think I realized how big the choir is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's hundreds and a live orchestra. I was just, you know, it was definitely one of those that I had expectations and far exceeded them.
I did get to experience candlelight at Epcot this past year when we did the Treasure Preview Cruise, which was very cool. Like, I'm glad I got to experience it, but definitely different because that's all done on a stage versus, which was nice because then we had seating, versus how they just transform Town Square and then also make the, you know, the train station the backdrop and then have almost like a tiered stage because you've got the different landings of the train station. I'm sure that's just, it's kind of like how Fantasmic is just better at Disneyland because you take kind of a normal area that you're through multiple times during your park day and then all of a sudden they just transform it into this like magical different thing and you're like, what?
But that's like what Disney's great at. Like that's like what makes it even, like, to me, what you saw was great, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But like, to me, like, I'm not as interested in seeing that because I don't, like, a couple reasons. One, because it's not transforming the front of the park, which is kind of cool. And also, like, there's more nights there, right? Like, so it's not
right, but it's
it's
different
not as
narrators.
it's not as limited, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's a dumb reason to not be that interested in it. But I just feel like that's easier to experience.
Yeah.
Where I feel like Disneyland's like almost impossible to experience unless everything lines up just right for you, which it does for a lot of people, especially locals who can commit the time to try to get there in the morning and do all of that stuff. And I just don't know if I have that commitment. Especially traveling from the Midwest, like where we live out there, it's just a little bit harder.
So, Michael, what did you think of the candlelight?
Yeah.
Oh, it's genuinely impressive. Like I said, it was one of those where I had an expectation and I wanted to see a bucket list or not. But it's genuinely impressive. I didn't realize how large the choir was or that it was a live. I knew they sang live, but that it was a live orchestra. How moving the experience is, and long, fairly. I mean, it's like an hour.
Yeah.
So I was genuinely blown away by it. You know, we knew it was that night, of course, but we're like, let's just try. We don't know if we're going to be able to. So we did just walk over, you know, when they sort of say try, because we waited for the second show that night.
Oh, that's a smart one.
And they say, just as people are kind of leaving, politely walk in. And we did that basically right in front of the Emporium and the fire station.
Oh, yeah.
And we just sort of walked in and stood. And we waited. We probably waited an hour and a half. But I was like, let's not move. Like this could actually happen.
We're committed now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was amazing. It's really impressive.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, one day, gotta get there. All right. Well, when you go to Disneyland on the first day of a visit, which way do you go? Do you go left towards Adventureland, through the castle to Fantasyland? Do you go right towards Tomorrowland? Also, what tunnel do you go through? Right or left tunnel?
Always the left tunnel.
Oh.
And we always, it's a tradition, take a photo under the sign. Here you leave today, enter the world of yesterday, tomorrow in fantasy. So my son is now 8. So we have a picture of of the three of us, but him growing up literally underneath that sign.
That's
cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Now, as to left or right through the park, if it were just me, I would always go Adventureland. And then, do a nice, and not just because the Jungle Cruise is the greatest attraction in the history of attractions ever, but then do a nice leisurely circle around the park. But our son, Dominic, has recently deemed Space Mountain, the greatest attraction in the history of attractions ever. So we've been rope dropping that.
Sure.
Just to kind of make sure we do it as quickly as one can.
Mm-hmm.
And then we kind of do a leisurely circle the opposite direction.
Sure.
The fair trade is Disneyland works more than a little well in any direction.
Yeah. Man, this is tough because producer Vern likes Adventureland and the Jungle Cruise, so could go that way. Producer James, Space Mountain. So we got, but in this family, kind of both kind of splits.
Exactly.
Producer James, though, he's always like, I know I just have to wait for Space Mountain. I know that's not the first place you want to go. But we rode it a bunch of times this last trip, so he should be happy.
There you go.
Yeah, we were lucky because we got to do Season of the Force.
Oh, yeah.
So because it's that change, we did it twice that day. And I don't know if we lucked out. Rope drop was only 20 minutes.
Nice.
But we went, at the vague end of the day, and it was 45.
Yeah,
it wasn't,
not bad.
It wasn't terrible. And always worth it. I think the Star Wars overlay is amazing.
Yeah,
Yes,
I agree.
Yes. It's one of those, if you could have both versions existing at the same time.
It's like Haunted Mansion Holiday.
Like Haunted Mansion Holiday and Haunted Mansion OG. I think we could have both existing and they'd both still be super popular. It's crazy how it's such a different experience when obviously it is the same thing.
Yeah,
right.
But it's so fun.
And you guys have not seen the new Bride yet?
I have.
Right?
Teresa
you
has
have.
not.
Well, that's right, because you went in February.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I really liked it. I thought it, and I forget if you guys talked about this, but I thought it looked better than the videos I'd seen.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, see, I thought the opposite.
See, I'm trying to stay spoiler free. I've seen images because social media, you can't always get away from an image fast enough. But I haven't actually sat and watched a video to try and be as fresh as I could be for the new Bride scene. I'm really excited about the queue, though.
I know.
The queue is amazing.
The queue is amazing, and it's one of those where I'll say we lucked out because of relatively short lines again, but I was like, please give me the 2-hour line.
You're like, no, I actually want to go that way.
I was like, can I just,
Rarely is that the opinion,
Right.
but when it's new, you're like, please. I feel that way about indie, even now. There's so many things in the indie queue that I'd like to kind of spend more time with, but you kind of just go through, where you're waiting is the outside part that I've seen 100 times slowly. And so I wish that maybe with this downtime, maybe they're trying to do something with it. Because I feel like that would, because it backs up so frequently into Adventureland that I feel like maybe with this renovation they're kind of doing right now, this little mini renovation, maybe they're trying to figure out how to get all that together. Because I think they have the room for it. They figured it out.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've already given us a hint at this next question, but officially, what is your favorite attraction? And even though it's Disneyland themed for the podcast, you can pick any Jungle Cruise from around any of the Disney parks.
Yeah, my favorite attraction is absolutely the Jungle Cruise. And not just since doing the deep dive of the year before Disneyland, but it always has been. I love it because it's that sense of mystery and adventure. I love that it's tactile. I love that it's only one of 3 attractions still hosted on the ride.
Yeah.
With, I think this is true, with the canoes and storybook. I love that it kind of invented, in a sense, animatronics. I love that it was an idea of Walt's that we get to step into one of his stories. I love the queue. I love the theming. And if anybody is on the fence about how great it is, think about almost every single time you get on it, it's a different.
Yeah.
Oh, that's true. For better or worse.
Well, yes. But, if you sit left, right, front, back, if it's day or night, even if you had the same skipper, their spiel would probably change. So I'm really just fascinated by the entire thing. And the fact that it's, as of this year, 70 years old, and it's certainly evolved, it's certainly been changed, but the fact that it's still good, it's still popular, the fact that it's still around, I am amazed at and grateful for. But I do think it's still good. And I'm grateful it's still popular. I genuinely think, and P.S., little side story, whenever I see the wait time, I always say that's a steal. Always. Actually drives my wife crazy.
That's funny. That's too funny.
Well, some of the times the wait times I found lately, like, I feel, in most cases, are like overinflated. Like, even like Rise of the Resistance, we saw when we were there like 45 minutes, and we're like, you look at the queue and you're like, I don't think this is going to be 45 minutes. And then you get in it and it's not 45 minutes. It's like a half an hour, which is still like something, but like it's not 45 minutes.
I would rather they do that.
Yes, yes. Then say 30 minutes and it's an hour and a half. Yes, I totally agree. But I'm just saying, like, I always go in optimistically that when I see the line, estimated time, that I'm like, it's not going to be that long. And when you go enough, you kind of start to get a feel for where the line is and like, how long is it going to take from that point? And then you also, especially with Rise, you look over at the Lightning Lane queue and you go, is there anybody in Lightning Lane? There's nobody in Lightning Lane, so yes, I feel like this will go pretty fast. But if there's like a backup, then you're like, well, we're not going anywhere.
So, Michael, do you have a favorite part of the Jungle Cruise? Or like a favorite, I don't know, scene?
I love getting on the boat. I mean, that's really...
and he hates getting off of it.
I hate getting off of it. I don't know if there's a favorite part. I love going around that bend that reveals the plain. So you see all the giraffes, the delta.
Oh, yeah.
Because that really does feel like a controlled reveal that still works particularly well. Yeah, but I love that. Like I said, I love that it's different. I love that I see things almost differently each time. And they're not new at this point, as with any ride that we've all been on a bunch of times. But I see things differently because it's just lit differently, or it's nighttime, or, it's either first thing in the morning or it's last at night, and but I love that it's funny. I love that there's still a sense of adventure and mystery to it. And the more that I've studied Disney and learned and fallen even more in love with the behind the scenes, I marvel at the ride. I marvel at what they did. And I think about, like, none of these trees were here. I mean, it could be something as simple as that. They had to figure out how to hold water in that.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
It was like the first ride that ever had fiberglass. Walt had originally wanted live animals on it, and they got away from. Like, I just sit there and I think about something else and take in something else.
Yeah,
I'm just, and it's the same thing, honestly, with Haunted Mansion and/or Pirates and/or any of the big tactile rides. That I just sit there and I go, this is genuinely impressive.
Yeah,
like I'm genuinely in awe of what I'm seeing. It's like that very first reveal of the pirate ship in the castle.
Oh, yeah.
When you come into that first room, I remember my son, he was just like, literally jaw dropped and just, and appropriately, he's 8 now, but so his first time whenever, but a little bit scared and a little bit in awe and a little bit excited. And just, I was like, oh my God, it still works. It still works exactly the way that it was meant to, that it's supposed to. And it's that whole kids of all ages response to it that and that's why Disney has all my money.
We had a lot of people's money, to be fair. Ours too. So I'm curious, because we went on this whole deep dive. Was it our last episode, or it was a stream or something?
It was a stream. You would appreciate this.
They were trying to gaslight me that curve you're talking about you go around the bend, and then there's the safari and everything. On those rocks directly ahead of you before you make the curve, there was baboons on those rocks, and they are not there now. But they were there, and we had to spend. I was not letting it go. I was looking at every year on YouTube. I was like, Jungle Cruise ride through 2000, 2001, 2002.
So many.
And when were they there, and when did they disappear? They were only there, few years, I think we determined, because like they weren't there earlier, but then they left.
Yeah, they were there, and then they moved.
Yeah.
I don't remember the years.
But I was certain that there were baboons on those rocks, and people that were watching our live stream were like, "No, I don't remember that." And I'm like, no, there were baboons. And I was right. There
It was one of those things that were like, is this like the banjo on
Yes.
Pirates,
Yes.
where you think there's a banjo, but there is not a banjo. But yeah, nope, there were
bamboos.
And I
on a
think
bamboo
maybe they shifted in like 2000 or something.
Wasn't it 2005? Because wasn't it like?
Oh, maybe it was
right before 2005. I don't know. All I know was I felt very vindicated, and I thought maybe you would appreciate that. Do you remember the baboons being on there?
I don't, but now I'm going to go find them myself.
Yes,
Well,
thank you.
fun fact, the baboons are still there.
They
have been moved. There was 2 clusters of baboons. The ones
love
on
that
the
you know
rocks.
all of this now.
Well, because we watched so many ride-through videos. The ones on the rocks where Tag's talking about them. And then there was a couple in front of the camp that the apes are all at.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've all been moved to the right before where the camp is for the apes.
Gotcha.
Fun.
Well, if somebody asked me what is the gentleman sitting on the porch playing the banjo, I would have sworn it.
Thank you.
Isn't
I'm glad that it
crazy?
wasn't just us.
I just
Yes,
think that's
no.
wild.
Well, it's because there is banjo music.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
You also have, Michael, when you were talking about like the reveal of stuff, I never paid attention, but you're right. They do direct your attention very well during your cruise through the jungles.
Yeah.
And I'm going to now sit there because the other thing I'm fascinated with the Jungle Cruise is how much they packed into really not that big of a space.
It's
how
relatively
they really
small.
Yeah, how they really wind you around and you don't even realize. So now I'm going to try watching next time I go on it, and I'm going to look the opposite way that they're telling me to look. Because now I'm curious, what are things that I've never noticed riding it?
do you know what I noticed one of the last
lots and
times
lots
I
of
rode
times?
it that I didn't know was there, but is an actual intentional thing? Was I believe that it's right as you start to go down towards where like the explosion in the middle of the river is before the thing, because I think the joke from the skipper was, "Oh, deer," and pointed, and there's like a deer off to the side that you're not looking at. And I was like, I never noticed that deer over there before. But it was a great, like, because the thing exploded. He goes, "Oh, deer." So that was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a thing that they said, because Storybook, for instance, your host is behind you.
Mm-hmm.
But they said one of the things is that the skipper is in the front because you are supposed to be looking at the front. And from the beginning, they were always worried about guests looking back and or to the sides, really, because so much was not quite done yet.
Oh.
They had originally thought about having an open air boat, but there was so much vegetation that did not go up that they put the canvas top on just to hide how little the jungle went up.
Yeah.
So, there was a great interview with, it was either Bob Gurr or Harper Goff, who said in a sense, it was one of the very first, omni-movers. It's not literally turning you where you want to go, but it was the first time that they did the curve of the river and did the spiel and had the things placed so that you were looking at certain things as they wanted to. And that fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just...
It's a great
good work,
attraction.
Disney.
There's a reason it's around 70 years later, and it's been duplicated in other parks around the world. So, Michael, let's start talking a little bit about your From Out of the Past podcast. Now, before we get to the season 2, which is what I'm sure a ton of people listening right now are going to be very excited about.
I'm excited about.
Let's just talk about what is this podcast? Like, how did it start? What does it kind of cover overall? And how did you get to season 2?
Yeah. Well, thank you for the plug. It's been a lot of fun. As long as I've been a fan of Disney, I've been a fan of classic Hollywood in general. My Instagram started during COVID and is mostly classic Hollywood. I'd guested on a bunch of podcasts, and I just found it was time to do my own. And I went through a bunch of ideas, topics, format, and you two know how tough it is to make a podcast happen. Getting someone else to commit, the scheduling, editing, the consistency. I still remind myself to try and be more consistent, but you guys are not just sort of the GOAT of Disney podcasts. And I mean that very sincerely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But the fact that you do it consistently, it would be easy to do this. You're like, hey, I'm going to put this out when we go to D23. Hey, I'm going to put this out when we go to the parks. If you did that to the level of quality that you guys do would be impressive. That you do it every week is mind-blowing.
That's what I tell anybody who talks to us about podcast stuff is I try to say, oh, you want to start a podcast? Like, here's my recommendations. And one of the things I say you absolutely have to do is you have to say, what is your schedule? Are you going to post once a month? Are you going to post twice a month? Are you going to post every week? And when are you going to post? Because one of the things that I learned from listening to podcasts before we even started this one was that was a key, that you have to be consistent for your listeners. And we've seen that where there's been days, especially when I used to edit, where sometimes we try to shoot for noon on Wednesday Central Time, which is 10 a.m. Pacific, Disneyland time. And when we would be late, people would be like, is something wrong? Is there a podcast coming out this week? Like, what's going on? And so you have to have that consistency. And so we try really hard. And that's why we ultimately had to get an editor, because like I got a job where like I was teaching and stuff in the morning and like I just couldn't get it edited and a bunch of other things. And so, yeah, consistency and making sure that gets out on time is super important. Yeah. And just making sure you sound good. And we've struggled with that over the years, which is where we've ended up with what we have now. But when we started, we were just recording into the computer. And sometimes we would have audio problems. And I would message Teresa, oh my gosh, it sounds terrible. And I wouldn't know until Wednesday morning when I sat down to edit, and it had to be out by noon. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's 8 a.m. and this audio sounds awful. I'm going to try to make it. So if you go back into our back catalog, there are some that are not great.
Thank you. Don't.
But that's why we invested in like a little recorder. We haven't, knock on wood, we haven't had any problems with our recorder, or since we started doing the recorder, all of that. So I know that's a little off topic, but like just address what you're talking about.
It is very important. I don't think I think a lot of people, think about the recording, and the recording is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's 20% of the job,
or less,
yeah.
depending.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for all the kind words and the compliments, Michael. That's awesome.
No, you guys really are, and it's genuinely impressive. And I don't want to get off on the whole thing, but I mean the fact that you guys are up to date. It's topical. It's like with the latest lists and the thing. I look. I don't want to plug anybody else, but I never miss Fresh Baked, and I never miss you guys.
Nope, we love Fresh Baked.
We love Fresh Baked.
There's the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then Teresa adds in that she watched a lot of Ordinary Adventures. And what?
Oh, and Hub Crawl.
Oh, yes.
No, and I love Ordinary. I love Park Pass.
Yeah.
I love Lisa Land. I love Magic Journeys. I'm not
to get Provost on.
We should.
I think he would totally be on the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm not obsessive about it at all. So don't worry about me.
Well, now you're in on it.
I appreciate it. So getting back to From Out of the Past, I wasn't sure if a conversational format made sense for me, since I felt that market, even for classic Hollywood, was saturated. Well, I've always loved Karina Longworth's podcast called You Must Remember This, which is a very specific classic Hollywood podcast. More significantly, it's a narrative format. So each episode is a mini, and sometimes not so many, book on tape, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a written and produced story. And she started off with single episode stories. I'm going to attack this topic for 1 week. And then over the last, few years, she opened it up where she said, okay, I'm going to do a season. So she does 10 or 12 episodes on a given topic. And the first time I heard that, I went, really? I was like, that's something that is, because this is very important. It has to be in your wheelhouse, I think. I'm sure if somebody gave you the opportunity to do a podcast on something other than Disney, your heart might not be in it. So I think you have to love what you're doing. But I thought, ooh, that's the kind of show that I could do. I could take a topic and talk about it for 10 episodes. That would still leave it open for the potential for different topics, season to season. I didn't have to just stay in whatever I picked. And I might be able to do 2 seasons a year kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it takes a tremendous amount of research. Those darn facts. My first season was on William Goldman, the author, screenwriter who did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. He did All the President's Men. He wrote the novel and screenplay for The Princess Bride.
Oh, cool.
So, and I'm a huge fan of his. So I did his whole life and career for the first season. And then for season 2, when I kind of was like, oh, this kind of worked. I could do this. Maybe I'm ready. I knew that Disney would be topic of season 2. But you two know well again, that is a large open field.
Oh, yeah.
And again, a lot of market saturation. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to, what could I, more importantly, I think, what could I bring to it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What would my in be? And once upon a time, as they say, I heard someone say, Tron, the Walt Disney World attraction, Tron took 5 years to build. Disneyland took 1.
Yeah.
And my mind started racing. Because not only is it a different multiverse between a park taking a year in 1954, 55, and one attraction taking 5 years in the early 2020s, it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, and this is where my mind exploded, P.S., do you know how much else happened in that same year?
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And I was like, Walt and Roy made Disneyland on top of everything else. And I knew that was what I could do for a season. I was like, I could take 1 year of time and spend 10 episodes talking about it.
Oh, at least 10 episodes, I'm
Right.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure. Because right, us being Disney park fans, we just focus, but that's a great point. We just focus on the park happening. But you're right. Walt Disney, the studio, didn't halt everything else and just funnel everything into the parks project. Oh, no, because, well, A, nobody except for Walt really believed that it was going to become anything. So nobody else was really going to want to be focusing that much attention on it. And then B, they needed the funds because they didn't have the funds for the park. So they need, so it was a whole big thing. But that's something that literally I never thought about. But now I'm like, I was already excited to listen to season 1, but now I'm like, season 2. But I'm like, that's not even something I considered. I was just, excited about all the details.
And it's genuinely remarkable how much juggling Walt and Roy. I always say Walt and Roy because I never think Roy gets enough credit.
No,
so,
he doesn't.
Right.
So I always say Walt and Roy like it's like M&Ms. But Walt and Roy and team did. And there was a time when Bambi was absolutely going to be feature number 2. It was absolutely planned to be, and it ended up being, I think, 6 if you count Reluctant Dragon. We know Lady and the Tramp began in 1937, ended up being released in 55. And those are by no means the outliers. In just the year before Disneyland, now that's a really good title, 7 major things happened. There's certainly the park. There's the hotel.
Oh, yeah.
There is getting out of their distribution deal with RKO. And they began releasing movies on their own. They created Buena Vista Film Distribution. There's Disneyland, the TV show. Their very first TV series at a time when the rest of the studios, MGM, Warner, Paramount, Universal, all thought of TV as the enemy.
Yep.
So it wasn't just risky for Disney. It was actually risky for them in terms of their relationship with their distributor, with any other studio. It's crazy. Then there's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And I know this is great radio, but I have my 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea t-shirt on. So they released 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. They released Davy Crockett and managed that phenomena. And then in June of 55, a month before Disneyland opens, they released Lady and the Tramp. It's and now that sorry, those are the 7 things.
Yeah.
There's actually one more. Okay. Sorry, I get very excited.
You should.
You should, yeah. That's like, yeah.
I say this often, but it's true. That would be a lot for 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Disney did all of that in one.
I'm still stuck on the fact that they got out of their deal with RKO and created their own, Buena Vista. I like that in and of itself. I can't imagine having to do, but then put that on top of the 7 or 8 other
lot
things.
of stuff.
That's wild.
And all of that is on top of their regular theatrical content. So just in July 54 to July 55, they released 2 documentary features and 6 shorts.
Wow.
And all of those were original. I'm not even getting into, say, a package picture.
Yeah.
Where they were, which they still, shot some new stuff and would re-edit and, re-release. But it is, and like I said, this is when my mind exploded when somebody was talking about, Disneyland being done in a year. And I went, oh, contraire. There is, a literal avalanche of other things happening that they are juggling, not just creatively, but to your point, monetarily.
Yeah.
They don't have money for the things that they're doing, and they decide to build Disneyland on top of it.
Well, and then also they're doing all these things, and Walt's grabbing people from different departments to then put in WED to then work on the. So then that's constantly changing too.
You're taking our people. We don't even have enough people for what we're doing, and you're trying to do this other. Okay.
Why?
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things. I think you might know the name Jim Korkis. He does a lot of Disney books. I think that's one of his big points was, they didn't, WED wasn't, made by outside talent that Walt brought in. It was like he literally walked up to John Hench and was like, "You're going to work on Disneyland and you're going to like it."
Yeah.
And not separately. He wasn't pulling him off what he was already doing. These people were doubling and tripling up on their work. Harper Goff, production designed Adventureland at the same time that he was the production designer on 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. At the same time.
Yeah. Wild.
And then Walt said, "Oh, I want the Golden Horseshoe. I really liked what you did in Calamity Jane. Just duplicate that here. That'll be easy."
Easy, of course.
Yeah, and Goff, didn't say no, of course, but I'm sure his head exploded. The first chapter of the podcast is called "It's All Simultaneous," because that was one of those things that struck me when I really started to dive in and I started to put people's names with projects and go, wait a second, I just wrote his or her name down for this thing, and I was like, oh no, they're doing both. Oh, they're doing that. Oh, they're doing, Wathel Rogers and Harriet Burns in the model shop. They're building the Nautilus and the Mark Twain at the same time.
Wow. See, they just need to figure out how to get back to that level of quickly doing a bunch of things, because you're right. But obviously things have changed between the 50s and now of laws and building codes and everything else. But it does kind of seem sad. Like, how come he could build this whole thing in a year, and nowadays we can't even get like one attraction? We can't even get like a re-themed attraction in a lot of ways done in that time frame, let alone a brand new from scratch. I mean, we're reporting on the Earl of Sandwich construction going up in downtown Disney, and that thing's had beams up for like a month now, and it hasn't really moved. And it's like, it's just a shot, like it's a restaurant. Come on. Although I will say, Tai Fung did seem like it came together pretty quick once they got to a certain point. But anyway, I do also want to mention one more thing, because it's weird that you are all about old Hollywood, and I happened to catch this video. Was it earlier today? I was watching it. It was a short documentary on YouTube about Hollywood, and it was called like Hollywood's Fantasyland or something like that. And they interviewed the guy who's responsible for creating the Grove. And there's a couple other retail locations in Southern California that they've built. One in the Palisades, which I assume from this documentary did not burn down with the fire, but who knows? And he was talking about Walt, And he said the reason that Walt was so successful is because he was a good businessman, he was a good creative thinker, and there was some other thing he was like really good at. And I was kind of I was disagreeing with that because the businessman was Roy.
Sure.
And I think, he fell into the trap that I think a lot of people do, that they think that Walt did it by himself sometimes, especially people who don't know Disney history. I think they don't really hear about Roy very often. So, but I thought it was an interesting thing because they talked about all the movie sets and stuff back in the day and how those became tourist attractions and how those led to studio tours, which then led to Walt trying to build stuff. And they talked to Bob Gurr. I think Bob Gurr was interviewed at his house, which was crazy because I was watching the interview and I was looking in the background and he has all this stuff. It had to have been Bob Gurr's house because it was like Tony Baxter's house with all the stuff in it. And anyway, I'll try to find that link to put in the show notes because it's pretty cool.
In their own right.
Yeah, I'll try to find the link and put it in the show notes. And Mike, I'll send it to you too. You might have already even seen it, but I think it
sounds great.
Converges your two things. But we should go visit the Grove because I've never been there. But it's a shopping district in outside of Anaheim. It's in Garden Grove, I think, and they have like a trolley.
Oh, fun.
That looks. It's a trolley. But it looks kind of like the omnibus where it's got the two layers. And they're like, the guy was talking about how people are like, why are you going to put this trolley in? And he's like, because I'm trying to make this feel like a certain place. And if you don't put a trolley in, it just feels like any other like shopping center. Yeah. And so he did all this theming and he was really into old Hollywood. Anyway, it's fascinating. In fact, I even think you'd like it. It was only like 17 minutes and they talk a lot about Walt opening Disneyland and they interview Bob Gurr and stuff. And it was really cool. Anyway. You probably have more on-topic questions. I jotted down
a couple of questions, because this is just, the topic is fascinating, but then also just the process behind kind of creating this. Because, we know how we do our things for this show, but I can't even wrap my head around how did you uncover and find all of this different information, because this was kind of a time period I feel that people didn't really maybe document or write stuff down as well as people do now. So I think I feel like that would be a challenge. So I'm curious what your process was in finding this.
I've written nonfiction and fiction, and nonfiction is only easier in the one very simple way that the bones of the story, often like what we call the spine of whatever story you're writing, with nonfiction, the bones are already there. In a sense, you're not making up the story. Yeah. You're, again, finding your in and maybe what's in your wheelhouse about it. But you can look up the facts of whatever part of history you want to talk about and find a bunch of information. So I did that first. I basically wrote down July 54 at the top of a page and July 55 at the bottom of the page. And then I just started filling in everything that happened. And then I realized to make some of it make sense, I needed to start before July 54.
Sure.
So I picked from that. I actually the first chapter is about 27 years before the year before Disneyland. And I really just picked from that what needed to be said, so that when I say Tag and Teresa in chapter 2, I don't really have to say who they are, because I've given you this prologue. Then I knew I wanted it to be 10 chapters. For some reason, I just picked 10 chapters as the length of each podcast season. Mm-hmm. And then I took that information and I started breaking it up. To your point, there is a rub, because the facts of old Hollywood, the facts of Disney, almost any old nonfiction, the facts are one thing, while their truths are often what matter.
Yep.
Especially when you're talking about real people doing real jobs 70 to 100 years ago. 95% of them were not keeping a journal. Mm-hmm. 95% of them did not think it was going to be looked at with admiration in 70 or 100 years.
Yeah.
Add to that, Hollywood likes to look its best at any time.
Yeah.
So you have to dig through a lot of facts to figure out which are the best. And I guess by best, I mean the most useful.
Yeah.
truths to tell and stories to tell. So in this instance, I was really sort of glad that I did not attempt Walt's life or Roy's life. I was like, okay, I'm just going to deal with this year and tell it as chronologically as possible, which also gave me a spine. It also kind of gave me a beginning, middle, end. And I knew that if I couldn't 100% nail a given fact, but I had 3 facts that pointed to the same truth, I would tell the story and just caveat it with legend has it, or this is what I believe, having gone through it. You know, because if you hear 3 to 5 versions of a story today or 100 years ago, you can probably pick out what's true about it. They went to dinner, they talked about, beginning Space Mountain, and so was fired. You go, okay, well, those 3 things might, are probably true. Even if you hear 7 different restaurants and 7, whatever.
Right.
So you really do have to just take your facts and go, here's the story I'm telling. And then hopefully tell the truth of that story. And I hope tell it as entertainingly as possible. Because you hope they go to podcast episode 2 after one.
Well, I think, with anything, right? It's like any story is if you got a good hook, you catch those people in that first episode, they'll keep listening. We're you talk about us a lot. We're lucky that you could hop into our podcast at any point and it's going to make sense. In fact, we have a lot of people who listen now and then they go backwards in time through the catalog, which Teresa absolutely hates. She only hates it because she thinks that we've gotten so much better than when we started. It's not that she's upset that people do it or anything, but you have a linear kind of story you're telling. People, you should not start on episode 7. You should definitely start at episode 1. And if you get that hook going, I'll tell you, everything that I watch and keep watching, if it has that good hook, I'm going to keep doing it. And honestly, I listened to the trailer for your season 2 and I was hooked. It didn't even take me an episode. It was the trailer. And I was like, oh my goodness, because I just want to let our listeners know this is really funny. So, Michael, you had emailed in about a trivia question.
Yes.
And I had just seen...
It was the topiaries around the park.
Yeah.
And I saw in the signature line from Out of the Past podcast, and I was like, oh, he does a podcast.
What is this?
And then I looked, and you had season 2 with the year before Disneyland, the year before Disneyland. And I was like, huh. So it was 2-3 minute trailer for the second season. I listened. I was like, I have to listen to this. And I immediately, I think it was one of the days that I was coming over to do the podcast. I told Teresa, I said, we need to have him on because I think this is fascinating. Yeah. And so that's how you ended up here.
Very, very kind.
It's crazy. Weird how it just.
And to your point, because, by now with all 10 episodes out, you can, there's a nice little thumbnail. And if you know anything about the year before Disneyland, which, a lot, I presume a lot of listeners are already Disney fans. They might see, this is where he talks about Frontierland, or this is where he talks about the Opera House, or whatever it is, or the TV show, or Breaking Away from RKO. And so they might jump to that episode because they say, I really want to hear about, his take on Tomorrowland. So kind of knowing that, and it was something that I had kind of learned with the William Goldman season, because people inevitably with Goldman will jump to Princess Bride.
Oh yeah.
It is widely loved, and and not a lot of people know his name, that he did that, and they go, oh my God, Princess Bride. And I talk about the book and the movie. So I knew that people were going to kind of jump around. So the beginning of every episode, I do a kind of previously on, just to sort of say, hey guys, remember this is kind of where we are. And I do it for the Disney season 2. Like, here's where we are. Here's kind of what we've talked about. Here's where we are in the timeline. Here's a little bit of what you might want to know because we're going to be capitalizing on it today. And then at the end of the episode, I say, hey guys, here's what we're talking about next week, so that you have kind of a sense of what's coming up. And hopefully that works as a hook too. But yes, this is, you sort of think of this like a book on tape. I think it works best if you start at the beginning. And I also will say, hey, we're on Main Street, be sure to look at the Main Street windows. And I might say something like, what's a Main Street window? We're going to talk about that in chapter 8 when we do our deep dive of Main Street. So that's not always a hook too, but it's like sometimes you kind of have to mention certain things, but you're like, I'm not going to take the 5 minutes right now to do that, but don't worry. We do get into that. It's coming up. So I've also tried to link things too. So maybe if you jumped into chapter 7 and you say, oh, well, he never talked about Jungle Cruise. I'll say, hey, remember in chapter 2 when we did our Adventureland tour, blah, 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 blah. So it's like people are, at least I hope, for like the newbies and the fellow deep divers, they're getting a sense of what not just what the whole story is, but if they really wanted to go back and look at something,
sure,
they can.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I love about Disney fandom is it is genuinely warm invitation. It's a genuinely warm group. I have never found people that say, I know more than you do.
Right.
Or make people that are fans, even if it's a Dole Whip versus churro, argument, it's usually a fan fueled argument. So I really kind of wanted this to feel that way too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, I do say what forced perspective is. I do say what the Main Street windows are. Just think, and it's not long, but I'm like, I don't ever want somebody to just have to sit there and go, I should probably know what this is, but I'm not going to ask.
Right.
Or have to pause your episode and go figure it out.
Go look it up quick, and
then come back.
I think that's great. I think that's great.
Yeah, so I hope it's fact filled, but also entertaining for anyone.
Yeah.
Well, we had so much fun talking with Michael that we will continue our conversation with him next week.
Well, mark your calendars, Weekly Tiers. Our next meetup will be on June 1st. Join us over at the Fireplace near the Tongariro Terrace at the Disneyland Hotel. We will be hanging out there from 3 until 5 o'clock that evening. Meeting you is one of our most favorite parts of our trip, so we would love it if you would stop by and say hello.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, Shell. My name Raymond, and I hope them answers are bigger and better than this here back porch I got attached to me. Don't you know Evangeline and I wish y'all the best of luck.
Welcome back to Trivia Land, where we are going to find out the answers to tonight's questions, and we're going to see how Tag and Teresa and you listening at home did tonight.
Yeah, I'm not very confident. I'm waiting for you to give us the right answers, Vern.
Well, you got some right answers.
Good.
That's good.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah. So let's find out which ones you got, shall we? Your first listener submitted question from listener Daniel C. What county name is printed on the license plate of each ride vehicle in Radiator Springs Racers?
Was Teresa right?
Teresa guessed Carburetor County, and Tag jumped in the car with her. Now, normally you would read the postscript after everything has been said, but I have to jump straight into this postscript from Daniel C. He says, P.S. Producers James and Vern deserve a raise of 4 churros each.
4 churros each.
4
And
churros
I
each.
just want to personally say thank you, Daniel C. I see you, and I appreciate you.
I love that Trivia Land is paid in churros.
Well, of course.
I love it.
Ed, before he wrote that, he also wrote, I was stuck on the ride for 15 minutes, so I was able to confirm this for about a dozen ride vehicles. Hence, I assume it is true for all ride vehicles. The answer that Daniel provided was Rubberneck County.
Dang.
Now, I always confirm all questions that are turned into me. While confirming this question, yes, I could confirm Rubberneck County is an acceptable answer. Other acceptable answers include Rolling Stop, Torqueville County, and Carburetor County.
Woo!
Yay! That's what maybe it's Mater, the cutest little town in Carburetor County.
Yep.
It's part of it's in the film. It's a line in the film.
So congratulations. I'm accepting Carburetor County. You do get that one right.
Now that you said that, by the way, I do remember, what were the other two?
Torqueville County, Roll and Stop, and Rubberneck County.
Roll and Stop, I remember seeing.
Roll and Stop,
Yep.
that's good.
When I was on the attraction, I remember seeing that, but it was out of there.
Rubberneck was the other one?
Rubberneck County, and I have confirmed it.
Do you think
That's
that
so
As
fun.
well
I need
as
to
Torqueville
give
and
Cars another chance? Like, watch it again?
I like the original one.
Okay.
I do like the original one.
Okay. I'll probably give it another shot.
I think Rubberneck County is one of the more rare ones, actually.
Oh,
But,
wait,
I mean,
I'm sorry. Welcome to Radiator
I-
Springs, the cutest little town this side of Carburetor
Oh,
County.
this side of Carburetor County. So I
Mhm.
wonder which county they're actually in.
Well,
What?
they're on one side of Carburetor.
Yeah,
County.
there you go.
Oh, okay. Yep. Good point. Yeah. Yeah. As I was looking things up, I found that Rubberneck County is where the anti-hero of Cars 3 is from.
Oh.
So that's
there
where
you go.
those license plates would be. They're an homage to that character and that movie. So the things you learn when you're looking things up for Trivia Land.
The things you learn.
Here's a
Yeah.
map on the fandom wiki of Carburetor County, and you can see where it is on there, which
That's
is
hilarious.
fascinating. That somebody
There's
came up
actually
with
like
a
a map.
map.
Yeah.
Very
Too
fun.
fun. And it's Ornament Valley. We thought it was, when we were talking earlier, we thought it was like,
Well, Cadillac Range is the range.
Cadillac Range. Ornament Valley, though, is what Radiator Springs Racers is in, I believe.
Sure.
Oh, yep.
Anyway,
Your second question from listener Shanna D. And this was the one that had the bonus and the bonus. Walt Disney hosted a TV program that followed the construction of Disneyland. How many months did the show run for leading up to Disneyland's opening? Which network did it air on? And what was the program called? You guessed 9 months or 10 months. The network ABC and the program called Disneyland. The correct answer that I was looking for was 9 months, debuting on October 27th, 1954, and going up until the opening of the park. And it was on ABC, and they did call it Disneyland.
Woo!
good job, Teresa, with
I
your
will
9
say,
months.
I do say that it's also known as Walt Disney's Disneyland. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a different show, though, I think.
Yep.
1954 to 1958?
Well, it but it
Continued
was
on
the-
after.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Anyway, pretty cool. Good job. Good job, Teresa.
Well, you got it right, too. You just got one bonus. Not
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
two. This is the one that had my head scratching.
Your third regular round question from listener Michael N. In the queue to order food at Flo's V8 Cafe, there are 4 drinks dispensers for cars. What are the 4 drinks that are served? Well, you gave me a total of 4
We
answers.
did, didn't we?
With tags saying 10W30 and 10W40, and Teresa saying Dynaco and Rusty's. The correct answers that I was looking for was Tulsa Tea, Yum,
Oh,
8-Ball, and Axle Grease.
oh. As soon as you said Tulsa Tea, I remember seeing that and thinking that was funny. Yeah. One of the random things that you notice but don't ever actually commit to memory.
Because it's inside, right?
It's inside,
I
yeah.
think I've literally only been in here
Right there.
one time.
Those things.
And I
right
think
there.
most of the time I was looking for you at the moment.
Well,
so.
and it's also kind of in a space that it's to the back and kind of to the side compared to where you
Sure.
order. So it's easy to not really notice either.
Hmm.
Dang.
Hmm.
Good question though.
It is a
Good
good question.
And your fourth and final question tonight from listener Donna S. What year did the Blue Bayou restaurant open? And I offered up bonus if you could give me the exact month and even the date. You answered June of 1967 and July of 1967. After much debate amongst yourselves, waffling around, was it 68 or what was it? The correct answer that I'm looking for, March 18th, 1967.
Woohoo!
Boom.
Did not do bad this
Well
week.
done.
I thought we were going to be doing much worse for some reason.
Yeah.
No, you did pretty darn well, really.
I also learned something tonight that was not in trivia, but I was looking while we were waiting for answers. I looked up the Blue Bayou on Wikipedia, and I did not know that there was a Blue Bayou in Tokyo Disneyland.
Look at that.
So that was interesting.
I don't think I knew that either.
Yeah.
Do they stay with the same menu or?
No, probably not. It's just the same name that they also opened one in Disney World.
Well, I mean, I'm genuinely asking because I wonder if that would be like a, hey, Japanese customers, here's a taste of New Orleans style.
I don't know.
You know, so.
We'll just have to go to Tokyo Disneyland.
Which is a long-term goal anyway.
Make a reservation and find out.
Yeah. Oh, do you think they have the dining package for Tokyo? Is there a Tokyo Fantasmic?
There is, but it's a Tokyo Disney Sea.
Well, still, I mean, do you think there'd be a dining package then?
Maybe.
All the better. Let's do it.
It's just like New Orleans Square, basically.
Are we sure this isn't our New Orleans Square?
Yes, because...
It looks so much like our New Orleans
Square. Yeah, but
Square.
if you look, like, it's very
You're right,
similar,
yeah.
But...
Tags playing around on Google Maps.
Yep.
Dang.
Similar, but different.
Wow.
The old school slurry paint for the ground.
Yeah.
Not themed, Teresa. How do you feel about that?
Not themed concrete.
Well, listeners, how do you think they did? How did you do listening at home? If you've got that perfect question that's going to really stump them next time, feel free to send that in to us at dlweekly.net/trivia.
Well, we will be back next week with more Disneyland news and information.
Until then, go out and enjoy the parks.
And a special thank you to our editor, Sidel.
Please remain seated until the podcast comes to a complete stop and the doors have opened. Then collect your belongings, watch your head, and step carefully from the episode. On behalf of all of our crew, thanks for traveling with us, and we hope you have a happy and memorable visit here at DL Weekly.